Welcome to my lovely HP community and the 5D collective. And to those who are new, we are a bunch of people who take healing trauma seriously. So we are all earning or own our securely attached 1 year old, 3 year old. So all our child parts are good. We're non traumatized people. That's why we do mindfulness, mindsight, and mindset to increase our restorative embodiment, self aware, accountable, regulating life, and to continue anchoring in ventral energy. And that's because the reality is when people have blockages and they're doing the mindfulness meditation and yoga, this is the left mode, the chit chatter, shit comes up. Yeah, that shit is called trauma charges. And Peter Levine explains how that works. Muscles, bones, and tissues. Also, Stephen Porges explains how that works. So, yoga, portfolio, ventral vagal toning exercises. But as Peter Levine says, if you can't contain it, we got a person who's offline. So you're just re-traumatizing yourself, which is why we have a bunch of people. They won't be a part of our 5D collective. They're going to do karma, not dharma. We leave alone because, Robert Sapolsky mentions determined. So really, do we have any choice? He says no free will. I say we do, but in the meantime, what I have noticed is that they don't admit that they feel, therefore they are. They continue to think that it's, no, I think, therefore I am, without being aware of that. No, you don't. You feel first, as your first 3 years of life are all implicit memory, and the first year of life only the right mode is on, so everyone is a feeling first. The only difference is, are you a securely attached whole self and therefore grounded in reality? And that's because of bilateral, vertical, and overall integration. So here at HP, again, mentor, content creator, podcast host, and sharing with you self-empowered stories. We are going to also chit chat about how a 5D mystic, empowered inner child adult, feels about the 4D mystic ego insecure narrative. So it's going to be on not wasting time there either. And here, let me remind you, life is too short to spend it with people and mystics who don't care about healthy self-soothing, healthy self-worth. Healthy means that they know how to use their gut and their heart and their mouth and their brain and their mind. Therefore, they speak from their true heart, not their fake one, and that's without being afraid to be their true self. And so they have a not paused self. Okay, so anybody who doesn't know how to let go of a relationship that isn't working, they need Patrick Tiahan. Anybody who doesn't know how to have a chirpy mood consistently because you've been able to get through all of the anger, they still need Patrick Tiahan. Anybody who doesn't know how to forgive needs Patrick Tiahan. 5D is Christ consciousness. We already know forgiveness. We don't do vindication. We know, oh, look, I have an emotional moment and more. I'm going to share in a safe space. Guess what happened to me? So this person and this person and this person and this person. So yeah, this is what was going on. This is how I was feeling. This is it. And so yeah, really, gosh darn it. Hey, you want to go and swim somewhere? So we don't do let me fuck you, let me drink or do drugs so that I can get this emotion out. No, it's can we have a grounded in aliveness conversation? So people who instead of getting into their aliveness get distracted, they're all Pinocchios on Pinocchio's island with the half brain that I keep letting you in on, and they don't do any of that, which is let's talk for real and have healthy self-soothing, because they don't do the I'm a non-traumatized person who knows how to self-regulate, because they actually say I have laundry, the Zen master who says he has laundry and that there's nobody who's enlightenment. Well, yes, there are plenty of us, neuroscientists included, because they know all about the flow state, and you don't do it alone. You actively do it thanks to being a person who knows how to self-regulate in your ventral vagal energy, in your ventral vagal state, thanks to having had the capacity. You also stay whole and you stay with integrity, which means you do not do anything that you would be ashamed of. And then you also know that we're all basically people who can fuck up, make mistakes, yes, but not in the way of the avoidant who basically stays in a suffering body. No, we speak from a heart that is open and says, if I get upset, anger, fear, all of those basic emotions, there's a way to experience them with good stress in my non-reactive ventral vagal state, because I can do that thanks to my prefrontal cortex being engaged, as Tara Brach shows. Okay, so mindfulness, putting it into practice, involves mindset, and now you're pursuing the expansion of consciousness because you overflow in your humanity. If you use time with people and mystics who don't take self-love and anchoring ventral energy seriously, you're going to be with people who not only confusing science and spirituality, they're ignorant, and they will limit the intelligence, intellectually speaking. I love to learn more things, which is why I learn from smart ones. when I grab golden nuggets here and there, it's because I find random golden nuggets. I mean, really, at a certain point, they become, who I make fun of right here because they become humorous the way they speak their mouth. So the seed of enlightenment, it is in everyone, yes, but it's only going to be realized if people own and are whole selves. Otherwise, they're going to thwart it, and they can do all the yoga, nature walks, meditation, mindfulness, spiritual, or personal growth they want. I'm going to notice personally in any 5D collective, yeah, they're not anchored in ventral at all. Now, they can have all the billions in the world, but what are you going to do with a suffering body? Although some people would beg to differ, and I know those people too. They're like the avoidant who just, speak bullshit out of their assholes, because really, again, the nightmare shit isn't fun to hear. As you get older, you're like, okay, how old are you? Because you keep sounding like a song from my teenage years, which I mean, while as an adolescent, you have a biochemistry that goes through an organically. Yeah, when you're grown up and you're out of the adolescent brain and you keep your adolescent essence because you're a healthy, self-soothing, self-regulating in your non-reactive ventral vagal state, you just find it ridiculous. As I got older, I'm in college and girls and guys are fucking each other and being unhappy about it. I didn't do any of that because I'm a conscious lover. So if I choose yes, it means I'm going to have a good time. And if I don't, I'm going to learn from it. But really, that doesn't happen except for some times you think something, but see, there's always something that an empowered feminine can tell you all. You're like, yep, I knew that about myself. I learned something today. Reconfirming what my body already told me. I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to learn, he loves to expand and knock castones, and he's not one of those men who want to choke me or, basically where they don't have emotions and they're still a version of themselves that isn't ever going to become empowered. Let me leave alone the sad story of what I get to witness on YouTube with those gender stereotypes. So yes, please, life's too short. There's plenty of therapists and people who are working to get themselves whole. That's where you're going to find love. And the reason for true love being easy is because, as Terry Real points out, and I know how to do it without Terry Real. I've been doing it since I was a teenager. Telling you exactly how I think with no fear, because I can't lose you. You're not in my fucking pocket. Oh, and if you do leave, I didn't lose shit because you actively, till death do part, sickness and in health. Anyone? I mean, you didn't commit. It's okay. I don't need you to commit forever. If you changed your mind, I just know that those who don't have integrity don't know what their mind is, or brain, or whole self, or anything, which is why they follow assholes on screens. So again, don't waste your time with half-brainers, because the whole brainers are usually, I love to love, and our babies. So we don't have narratives that are from insecure egos. We have fun times. As a 5D mystic and an empowered feminine, what I can tell you about my oversoul is that every single one of my masculines and feminines, they're not mine, but every single one has brought me exactly to where I wanted to be. I knew that even without knowing where I wanted to be. And then also, FYI, I come from the future. And today I found out something. I was like, wow, I really did come from the future. It's nice to have confirmation, even though I know I have that relationship. But it still feels always odd for the 5D mystic here, anybody who has the capacity to say, this is just clairvoyance, clairaudience, all of the clair is so easily adaptable. Why? Oh, I forgot, because my brain. So my default mode network is downregulated, as Dr. Daniel Siegel has explained in my interpersonal neurobiology course, when you have an integrated brain. Oh, and I've done this all with people. I have a twin, remember? So it's not alone that this woman did anything. No, in fact, without my masculines, I wouldn't be here. Without any of those human beings who, as a teenager, showed me envy, jealousy, spite, cowardice, liars. And then as I got older again, they didn't notice them. Now I know, okay, thank you, Terry Real, for confirming that I'm a healthy human being who just knows how to tell people the truth, because I had a child-centric environment. Thank you, Patrick Tian, for that one. So the default mode network of this brain is downregulated, left, right, work together, and my INSO is active, which is why I have introception, because I am alive in my body, not pseudo-alive. And then my side brain, they work together too, because I'm friends with my ego, and I am emotional first, because that's exactly what happens when you have a parent, the primary caregiver of mine, who allowed me to be codependent from the 0 to 8. And a twin that allowed me to, okay, so that's why you don't waste time when you already know what it means to have ventral energy always on go. And when you meet the small energy people, that's the ego like this, the teenagers, cowards, unkind, not Lucifer. So now that I'm grown up, I know that the ones who end up in prison, yeah, that's because they need therapy. The ones who are following each other, and we're going to talk about with their ego, insecure narratives, they just get more and more humorous. But please don't waste your time. Again, with anyone who doesn't take seriously self-love, that means that they don't take seriously getting their child alive. If they get their child alive, then you have a person who does know how easily it is to stay in a very passionate, as Tara Real points out, fierce love. We just don't need Tara Real. So we are here at HP, people who take seriously healing trauma. I have secure attachment. I'm a non-traumatized body because I can self-regulate in the absence of you. And when people don't like to see that some of us are non-traumatized, it's because they use the word one without understanding that trauma charges. We all can have charges. The difference is when my emotions come up, I can see them. Hey, what's up, Maria? Oh, I'm having a good time, and there you go. As for mysticism, the clairs. So let me share with you. The sciences look into what they call the hard problem of consciousness and da-da-da-da-da. Spirituality, here you go. I just mix and match my own words because at the end of the day, they both really say. So when we have downloads for the 5D body type, it's not destabilizing because, as I mentioned, I have a window welcome to emotions. And even when I had the Kundalini awakening, light body, rainbow body. So for me, the panic attacks were the biggest and most pain in the ass. Everything else was something that at a certain point, I'm like, you know what? Leave the 4D alone because they keep on just being egoic and thinking that they're only those special ones and that they have some cross to bear, which is very disrespectful towards Jesus, who did actually walk with the cross. And then they go and make up a bunch of shit too. And then so, anytime I see them playing God, I'm like, wow, really? You don't know that we're all part of the same energy and everybody has equal access? Again, the seed of enlightenment is within everyone, but as long as you ignore to become a whole self with your ownership of sense of self, which means your grown up higher self brain, you're not going to be what I'm sharing with you here. And the ones who pretend, it's been since 2005 that I was pretty much beginning that journey. 2007 is when I got into that first lovely T1 came around, T2 eventually, T3, then soulmates, and today I'm like, okay, this is good because I was planning on letting you all in on the fun fact for my 5D lovely collective of mystics. They're not mine, but it's really easy. You don't lose people unless you're an ego that's so insecure that you consistently use the same story because blamers, martyrs, and superiors need Patrick Tiahan, but they rather play Elsa. Show yourself, and that's where you're going to find superheroes and supervillains, and like the fancy lady man in suit, people telling you that they know what health is. Inherently, it's not true. That non-reactivity, that they use the words and they twist it to what they want people to be in, which is their protective nervous system. I didn't choose my words based on how I want to wield you because I don't manipulate people. I like to share. So here's the deal. I learned from smart people. I'm the pseudoscience lady. As a mystic, I don't try to prove mysticism because God is not provable. Jesus and Holy Spirit, I have my relationship. And Anima Mundi, really, and as an Akashic record reader, I mean, gosh, when someone said, those are nosy, this Akashic record reader, she was crapping on mediums, and I'm like, dude, you're not a medium, and how dare you? They're not nosy, they're connected to the sphere, you idiot. And you are not an idiot because you're stupid. No, you're an idiot because don't you understand how energy works? No. So I remember when I was wondering about, you know what, I'm going to pause it, wait for our next story so I don't lose any of you who are not interested in all that stuff. Okay, so yeah, when you meet people who are Cusco's attitude, leave it alone. Excuse me, you're confusing science, spirituality. You already began an interaction with something that sounds like, okay, but I'm going to say, okay, no, this is what I do. Now that you say, this person, I'm a mystic too, okay, now you're unbridled self-expression. Your ego's in town thinking that I'm wrong. You didn't chime in to have a good conversation. You chimed in to prove your own point for yourself, not me, because I don't give a shit about your point, but I'm going to get to find out who you are. So I'm not going to waste my breath, because now that you've interrupted me the second time, I'm going to reiterate my statement, because that's what a person who knows what they're speaking is going to do. A differentiated self is what it's called. So my brain is integrated. My default mode network is downregulated. I'm not insecure about being Maria. I don't care if you look at me like a stupid piece of shit. Because as long as you are not a physically threat, I'm not going to care. That's what integrity means. In the meantime, I dealt with all the teenagers that I had to. So as I got older, those teenagers are what I get to see, which is why which is why it's unimpressive. And that's why I don't feel in any way, shape, or form ashamed, embarrassed. I'm actively not giving two shits most of the time, whatever anyone, and what I've realized at this point, it's been a long time, like since college years, because I'm not an insecure person at all. I don't know shame. My mother taught me self-respect. And that anybody who uses a tone with me, especially if they're grown up, that I need to remember who the person who has manners is. And it's not the grown-up who's using a tone, and it's not the human being who doesn't know how to actually engage with what are proper tones and manners. And that's because I have a tone too, which she knows all about. So when you're a kid, your entire life, you're like, okay, I know manners. And then when God reiterates, don't play God, be humble, I send you my son, he says forgive. And it's not I forgave. Very straightforward to see when somebody didn't really forgive, and they could use Terreal, Patrick Tiahan, so that they can stand up as empowered inner child adults versus hypervigilant ones and non-bilaterally integrated brains. Very boring. Like I said, I've been on the road of an empowered, enlightened mystic even before knowing I was a 5D mystic. And with that being said, when you have people who find it hard to believe that the first 6 years of life, they don't want to spend their time healing. So they don't want self-love. They don't want love. They don't want to be a real person. They want to say facades like my facade friend. And the third time's a charm. So I tell this person, no, this is what I do. And the person says, no, look at my tattoos. Okay, now you've got me. Now I'm in show and tell with a 3-year-old. And he's not the only human being who's done this. But I'm actually curious because, see, I'm a 3-year-old who has no questions about who I am. I'm not curious about what you're going to think. No, I'm curious about what you're thinking. Because, yeah, I have telepathy. I don't bother with trying it too much. Because why would I? I mean, I can be nosy, but I really am not. Because if I'm not in a direct communicative relationship with you, it means you don't care to be in my life. Which is why would I bother being in your brain in the first place? Or your mind. You are not going to be any kind of action movie. And when you see people thinking that mental warfare, spiritual warfare, and all this stuff, shamans, yeah, I've seen them. It's because they're pseudo-alive. They don't live in their body. And so when you see this gaze, and then you see people who are, again, I've seen more than I can count, and I'm thinking they all could be healed and doing mystic the way I am and have a good time with their clairs and not experience what they're doing. Well, you know, they like the fancy lady man in suits, so I'm going to leave it alone. And in the meantime, allow anyone who's 5D to come on over here. So every ascension energy I've gotten to expand, very straightforward. And those who didn't, it's because they chose to disregard that they're egoically insecure. And they say, we're special, we're anointed. And they, in fact, continue to create stories. This dude... First he says, no, I'm a mystic too. Then he's showing me the same tattoos of Buddha and quantum physics, because I told him I look into all of it and bring it together for human evolution, consciousness, and helping people to be their true self in the sense of being in your well-being, because that's what mindset, mindfulness, and mindset help, but also saying, hey, it's really easy. I did it. If I did it, you can do it too. That's as easy as it gets. The little choo-choo train did it. Do you think you can't do it? You see, I believe you can do it. Now, I also believe experts will tell you if you can't. But I'm going to say that so far they've been showing me that you all can. And they've been doing research for more than like 20, 30 years. So, I mean, again, I'm the pseudoscience lady. As a mystic, I am in a relationship with spirituality, with God, with Jesus. But this is not provable. It's also called we don't play God. When you have an ego, that's my name. I'm not playing God, you see what I'm saying? And when you have a grown-up brain that knows what it means to have thoughts and emotions come up first, and that anything can be falsifiable because you do have a discerning brain, as that's how it works when you have qualitative, quantitative data analysis. I don't need to prove shit. Anytime I'm in an interaction with somebody, it's qualitative, which is the reason why I don't make it into a big deal. That's what those people don't realize, is that the only time I'm going to be seriously paying attention is when I'm listening to the quantitative data experts who are formulating in a consilience approach, like Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox, Bezel Band, anybody. And now I'm learning shit that's important. Other than that, we're just having social time. Why do I need to actively try to learn something that you're not teaching me? Because all you're giving me is ancient news because of the lack of bilateral, vertical, and overall integration. Because that's what happens when you have people who don't know how to be curious, open, accepting, and loving and having a good time. And that's because they don't care about learning things out of the joy of learning. No, they care for control And that's where if you loosen up that control, you're going to begin to have more fun. And in fact, when you hear somebody say your brain can fall out of your asshole, no, out of his or her or their asshole, not out of an asshole like this, because we don't get lost. So when somebody doesn't have two opposing topics, like my one friend who called me a hypocrite, touched because they're only using half a brain. The right brain, the right mode of your brain is where you can have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's your feminine. The left is the masculine, which is why he's the stupid one, because all he does is break things down. I got an elephant right here, which is why it's unimpressive. And then when you have distorted feminines, which are all of those masculines, and distorted feminines, you got a teenager in the room. And teenagers are unimpressive because they actively can't hear. When I see them in classrooms, I thought college was already weird. And then I got older, my master's degree, finding people who don't know what it means to respect and learn and to use your time effectively, And then I got even older, and even now in class, I got people asking for shortcuts when it's like, okay, did you hear the data? I don't think you heard shit. Why are you wasting my class time now that I'm getting older? Shouldn't you be responsible? Sorry, you don't take accountability for self-regulating in your non-reactive nervous system because you follow fancy assholes in suits who tell you to be rigid, harsh, unforgiving, and that your brain can fall out of your ass and you believe it to be so. When you have a brain that is like, no, that sounds off, it's because you have a good gut. So here's the deal. As we close on out, when I'm in world religions class, this is only one of my many college classrooms where I put up with, again, I'm stupid too, but these people don't listen, they don't learn, they're not taking it in. I forget it, but I learn and assimilate it because I care. These are just people who are bodies that are there for no other reason except for they're filling out a little piece of paper that they're then going to show you and not know how to even bother using. And so we're in class and the teacher's talking to us about Christianity. I had catechism. I already know what it means to truly repent for sin, which, by the way, is when you're going to be clearing your conscience if you've done anything that you're ashamed of. Which is why when you do go to good therapists and you find out that people are healing, they have a good one, they say, hey, you can have that moral injury stuff where you know that there's something you've done that you can never come back from, but what are you going to do? Identify with it? Isn't it better that you begin to and or live life to make up for that? So, you don't have to talk about it as self-compassion. You can talk about it as self-understanding. You can talk about this type of way of evaluating that events happen. We all can make mistakes. Every one of us, and I knew this already as a teenager, can be considered the evil person to the monster, the unkind. This is why 4D mystics and their egos, we're going to talk about them. They're like mean girls. It's not just girls. Again, I'm a girl. So to me, when I'm seeing envy, jealousy, spite from girls, I'm like, wow, you're so petty. Men, on the other hand, boys are just awful, which is why I don't want to be around boys. They're unsafe consistently. If I have to pick, I'll pick the catty women because I'm a woman, the little catty girls. But no, the boys, I don't want to have anything to do with them. Not the men, not any, because they allow themselves to justify a lot of things. And to this day, I can't wait for our actual community to figure out it's not about the bear or the man. It's not about the gender. It's actively about, you have only 3 ways your nervous system engages. And if you don't know how to use your non-reactive, the one connection, go to therapy, please. Get it online, then say, it differs in the at least now I know you own something. Then I have maybe a brain that's working, maybe, because then you see people, again, they grow up, they don't have the capacity to be like a Terry Real, who says that we are not afraid in our relationships. It's one of the reasons I love the man. He's amazing when he's saying, the women need to get out of their Cinderella complex. The men need to get out of stopping this thing that they don't feel. So he's the best bet for any human being grown up who wants to actively have what is a passionate and true grown-up relationship. Patrick Tiahan, again, he's great for childhood trauma stuff, and people who are serious about that. But when he's talking about the women and the men who don't know how to talk in each other's faces, that's the one thing that, as an empowered feminine to this day, all I need to see is a hint of you being afraid. And that's where my facade friend, that's it, I'm done. I'm done because I'm going to be wasting my time. Because there's nothing that will have those ears notice themselves because they already chimed in with a lie. To whom? To themselves, not me. I'm picking up on their unconscious subconscious, which is the right mode. They're only gonna use their left, which is where unimpressive. Masculines and or men for me are uninteresting as a 4'9" woman, all of this. And really, because if you're insecure, the minute I say something actively smart, you're not going to control your 3-year-old, especially if you've got shit going on in there. So I'm a smart gut. Here's what you know when you learn from smart people. So when you're embodying the secure, non-traumatized body, because you have emotions and thoughts and you can process them. I'm 19, 20-ish. Yeah, one of my friends, and I'm going to leave it vague. All I'm going to tell you, I'm like, okay, this is going to be recalibrated ASAP, because there's something really, really off about a lot of ways of talking and doing things and the energy. And that's because my gut said so. And that's it. So when you have a healthy self-worth, self-soothing, self-regulating, you know your biases, you know your stuff, but you will trust that gut. And that gut, when it comes to physical safety, will be accurate because it's not controlled by the left, my lovely viewers. You only have 3 ways your nervous system works, and it is part of nature, which is where, if I want to bring in God, I can have blind faith, but I could also bring in lovely Determined, Robert Sapolsky. I haven't read it, but those first 3 years. And again, nature doesn't auto-destruct itself. So any empowered feminine, doesn't have to be a woman, they're not going to second guess their gut. And what I can tell you is, as long as you are a person who has the ownership of your sense of self, your whole child, you are leading with your higher self, yeah, your intelligence. Not going to be in any kind of physical situation because you don't get yourself into any relationship with unhealthy, self-soothing, unhealthy, self-regulating men, women, or theys, because your body's going to be like, you don't know how to play nice. You don't know how to play fair. You don't know. It's just going to be like, this is not a relationship. I don't know what it is, but it's not romance, that's for sure. And so it's not the man or the woman or the bear when it comes to relationships. It is actively, do you know how to be a self-regulating, self-soothing, ventral energy person? That's what I'm anchored in, and that's why you would keep coming back for Mindfulness Mindsight if you want those practices. Subscribe to fan-based, the paid subscription-based model content, or to Spotify or other podcast platforms. There's also Ask Maria for opinionated calmness episodes. There is also one-to-one mentorship you email, and there are sign-ups for the spiritual future workshops and retreats, and also our masterclass. But to conclude, just like I said, facades, they stay facades. And we'll talk more about those narratives in a little bit. But as for romance, it doesn't happen unless it's a person who I love to love. And my baby, they love to dance and they love to love and they love to learn and expand and know how to talk from the heart and have no fear of it. And consistently, not just sometimes. So yeah, anytime you meet who needs Terrio or Patrick Sheehan, you're going to notice it if you're a person who doesn't need either of them, because you're a non-traumatized body who knows self-regulation in the absence of another person, because you will have that. And when that's it, that's why people will have one of 2 ways that they respond to your cue of a state of safety, which is what? Well, as Deb Dana points out, it might be that they will have a dysregulating effect. And as Stephen Porges points out, yeah, they might not like it. And that's why we won't be near each other. It's not because we're being protected by energy vampires, dark auras, or anything like that. It's because they actively don't like exposure to gooey, ooey, ooey, ooey. And that's because they're not empowered children. So they don't have an eternal child alive, which is why they're not a real Pinocchio yet. They can always be. So again, we take healing trauma seriously, one person at a time. I am a person who is healed. Do I have charges? Yes, but I can consistently have that eustress going on. Learn all the time how to breathe more. I also have a lot more data than you have heard, and that's because I'm not going to share all the data with you, but I have knowledge of this, so I can bring in sciences and explain all of that, which is clear land, light body, rainbow body, with no question about it. If I wanted to, I could give you a whole analysis of Maria as a person, analyzed by those people who analyze and who help people with their well-being. But I come with God and Holy Spirit, and I've seen my past lives. And while there are those who from sciences can inform us of how that works, again, we know that already. Which is why they're the ones who call it a hard problem of consciousness. We don't. We call it anima mundi, akash, universe, God. It's all fun. Angels, archangels, and we don't use them like dress up because we're not Cinderellas. We're not princesses or empresses. No, we're human beings. When you overflow in your humanity, as Sadhguru presents, divinity descends. We don't have to use divinity in a way of saying we're God. No, we're not gods. We're not superhuman natural. No, it's not supernatural. It's as neuroscientists point out. It's called the flow state. Selflessness, effortlessness, selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, richness. So we get to be here all together, making it very straightforward. You know why? Because the only ones who need to dress up and make things sound fancy are the same ones who don't own their restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating. They think they do because of the words they use. We're going to notice that they're not really badass because they don't have a good time. And that's for our next episode. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.